Electric car sales are proving resilient despite a weakening global car market. They rebounded in the second quarter, up 35% compared with the first 3 months of the year. Sales reached record levels in 50 countries, including Brazil, India and South Korea. EV sales are now expected to reach 29% of total car sales worldwide this year. That's 1 percentage point higher than had been projected in the global EV outlook. China leads the world in the sale and export of EVs. Chinese customers are also pivoting to domestic EVs, and this is hitting the European auto sector. German automaker BMW says a steep drop in sales in China and a hit to consumer confidence because of the Middle East crisis was behind an almost 35% plunge in second quarter net profit. Vehicle deliveries in China were down nearly a third. BMW is planning to axe 8,000 jobs by the end of next year. Stellantis' European operation remains in the red despite a global return to profit. Second quarter revenues were up 13%. The group, which owns Jeep and Fiat, says this was due to strong sales in North America. Stellantis and China's Leapmotor are starting joint car production in Europe later this year. Renault, however, recorded a more than 9% rise in first half revenue and swung back to profit thanks to strong electric vehicle sales. The French car maker says it has no need to cut its European capacity despite growing Chinese competition in the region. It does have a strategic partnership with Geely in Latin America. Well, let's get more on this. Daniel Harrison is an automotive analyst at Ultima Media. Daniel, thanks for joining me. Chinese automakers are capturing a bigger share of the European market faster than analysts expected. What do you think the reason is for this?
Yeah, good to speak with you. There's many reasons. Fundamentally, the cost base for producing vehicles for, legacy automakers in Europe is much, much higher than new startups in China. So much so that many of the European manufacturers have abandoned producing entry-level or A-class vehicles that are affordable to consumers. And China has seen an opportunity here. That there's a gap in the market, that those manufacturers are not catering to those consumers with a modest budget, and China's now starting to flood the market with affordable vehicles. So they've really stolen a march there.
While Chinese companies are doing well, the European ones are struggling. We're hearing about layoffs at the likes of BMW. What do you think the key reason for that? Is it competition from China, or is there other reasons too?
There's multiple reasons. So the first primarily is that over the past 20 years or so, China has been a huge export market for many European OEMs, particularly Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes and Porsche, companies like that, and also to the US. So on China, because the competition from domestic Chinese manufacturers has matched or even improved upon the quality of European manufactured vehicles, they're drastically losing sales there. And in North America, because of the tariff implications, European manufacturers are struggling to export as much there. So they're being hit on both fronts there. But also, as I said, the much higher cost base makes it much more expensive to produce vehicles in Europe. In fact, that's why Volkswagen and many other players have set up joint ventures and plants in China to produce vehicles much more cheaply, and in some cases, including Tesla, are actually exporting them back to Europe.
I was going to ask you about these joint ventures like the one with Stellantis and Leapmotor. Do you think they are the future of the car sector in Europe?
Yes, very likely so. I think they're not the entire solution, but they're probably the least worst option. The alternative, unfortunately, would be that you'd have to close some pretty flagship plants across Germany, primarily, Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes, but also Stellantis possibly and Renault. And that would be very painful in terms of job losses and the loss to GDP and the impact upon the economies more broadly. And, European automotive is a pretty vital pillar industry across Europe, and we're pretty proud of it, particularly in Germany, is a great export market. And it's that's why the European Union is very keen to hold on to that, hence the tariffs that they've introduced to try and hold back that tide of Chinese imports.
Thank you, Daniel. Daniel Harrison, automotive analyst at Ultima Media. And back to you, Sally.
Thank you very much. Siobhan.